I did a stint in the Navy after I went to college, and I had a band first. I had a band in high school, so I started playing piano, with a band in high school. I had my own little combo and did that. Went off to college where I wrote music and performed in shows and did some theater stuff and things like that. So, and this piano went with me everywhere because I bought it when I was in high school and it went. And I went through college on a Navy scholarship, and then I went off to the Navy for 5 years as an officer, and the piano went with me on the aircraft carrier, and we had a couple of bands when I was on the aircraft carrier, and we used to play there, and I'd entertain the guys on the ship and stuff like that, and that's where I really got started playing with a band as opposed to, sheet music, because I took lessons when I was a kid. And then when I got back from the Navy and came back home to join the family business and did all of that stuff, Jeff lived down the street and around the corner, so I knew the Schweiflers. Rob did. And so I stumbled upon them playing in some bar here in town. I'm not sure exactly which one, but I'd see them more often at the Pepper Mill downtown. That's where I'd see them. And then sometimes I'd follow them wherever they were going. I just liked the kind of music they were playing. And I was single, and, I just looked going out, and so I'd go listen to them for a while and then maybe go hit another bar and wander around or do some things like that. And in conversations at the bar, I, said I liked what they were doing, and, it'd be great if I could sit in sometime or be happy, and we just started talking. And one night down at the Pepper Mill, I loaded up mine, and, I had a station wagon, and I, loaded and had this in the back of it. And I said, well, I got my piano on the car. I was hoping they'd ask. And they said, yeah, sure, come on, bring it in. Okay. And it just kind of started from there. And so I would, I'd just show up. If I had a night where I could and they were playing and, and I wasn't working or doing something, then I'd just show up and come and see them and say, hey, can I sit in? Sure. And, so there were a couple times at Pepper Mill, and then it was down at J.P. Allen's, starting that stuff, and a couple other places, and before you know it, I was kind of a member of the band. I didn't make any money. Then again, we never made it. Nobody made any money. We didn't do it because we had money.
Yeah.
Get a couple of beers and do that kind of stuff, and come in and just play.
I remember one time we were at Bobby's on the beach, and there was a bartender there, this woman that would put Elvira to shame, and she had on like a black leather bustier and massive makeup and big hair and leather pants or leather miniskirt or something like that, and Jeff and I were sitting at the bar, and Dale came up and he goes, that's the kind of woman that scares me. And Jeff turned to him, he says, hell, if you ain't scared of your wife, you shouldn't be scared of anybody.
Yeah, his wife scared me. Still does. Yeah, she still scares me.
So,
but I love her. I love you, Vicky. Love you, Vicky.
Well, when I was with the band, we started not just Summer Celebration where I played, and it was scary some of the times when we played at parties in the park. And we played Party in the Park before it was a big event, and they had that stage that was built up around the statue, and it was plywood, plywood and 4x4s and rickety and all sorts of stuff. And we get up there, and it was nothing but 6 kegs of beer in the back, and and half a dozen porta potties, and hardly anybody there. But yeah, that was, I can claim that. Yeah, we were one of the first bands. In fact, we might have been the first one that played down there or did some stuff like that, because we played several gigs down there doing that kind of stuff, and having to hop the little fence and get up there and work that stuff. And sometimes we'd do doubles. We'd play Party in the Park and then go off to some other place and play it later at night. And that's what really ticked my first wife off and said, you got to stop doing this. It's like, okay, But
Dale played with us until he got married. He went on his honeymoon, and we had a gig at Bobby's on the Beach or whatever, and we had Tom Schaub fill in for him, and Dale came back, and his wife says, you are not playing in that band. And so Tom still filled in for him for about 15 years.
I was the 5th guy. And so I played with him for, 3 years, about that time period. And then I got married. And you know, my wife wasn't too excited about me being out, you know, Friday, Saturdays, you know, Thursday, Friday, Saturdays, and sometimes double gigs and all of that stuff. And, you know, I kept playing with him for about a year afterwards, but it just started pulling out. And about that time, Tom came along and, you know, he started filling in, and, you know, before you know it, I was done and Tom was in.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there wasn't this official, you know, okay, you're in, you're out. There's no Ringo thing, you know, or,
Yeah.
you know, after I dropped out, I would still show up where they were playing, you know, a couple times a summer or whatever. They didn't play much during the winter, you know, so whenever they were playing someplace, I'd show up and they'd see me in the audience and they'd call me up and I'd play Moon Dance and a couple other songs, and, you know, we do those. And so, you know, it's the same thing that we did when we had the reunion
Right.
stuff. It's, you know, so Tom can play the flute and I fill in on those other things.